Watch it.
Down below.
Rain fire. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Two dead.
Oh my god.
So we were talking about wingman shots. Holy wingman. Forcing lighting them up. Here's all of Team Nordic. See Forcing up there on the top.
Batman probably feels really bad about that.
No, you know. He'll get over it. He's Batman.
So this is what we're seeing. We're talking about
here's
the
finish.
finishers.
Bam!
Oh, it's so fulfilling.
So satisfying, and the biggest thing there is you waste, no ammo. I think it's going to be time sensitive, like a little bit better than going the punching route, so they don't have the opportunity to be able to crawl away. But it's a bold move at this stage of the game, especially considering where he is at right now. Right, with the airway, we know that it's a very dense, high action area, and he's kind of out in the open, but Forsen makes it out.
So now he gets an opportunity to get himself loaded up. They find themselves in the airbase yet again, talking about it a little bit earlier, how airbase, you have that opportunity to loot yourself up. You can go in a bunch of different directions because it's on the far western side of the map, so he's got an opportunity, got a wingman and a flatline. He's sitting on a heavy ammo loadout.
Shotgun will be nice in this tempo. Let's go, boys.
That's one thing that I think is very important to talk about, because I've been talking about the clip size and some of the ammo circumstances that can happen there. It's also important to consider ammo type just when looking at your loadout overall. Ammo can be very hard, especially to find when you're looking at things like energy ammo. It's very, very limited. And so going with a double heavy, I'm not going to say that it's not a misplay or anything, but you have to be considering that at all points throughout the gameplay. Because if all your team's sitting on heavy, you're probably not going to have the shots when it really matters.
Forsen, his Bloodhound teammate, ended up going down, so luckily he does have a scope onto that flatline. Switched it over to single fire for a second, but actually now he's saying, you know what, buddy, I don't care about you. I'm going to go give me some loot.
I bet Koa's got him. I bet it'll revive him. We'll be just fine.
Maybe. Yeah, there he goes. He ends up getting it there.
Surely they're not just bailing on him. Poor Orb.
As you see, the inventory management coming through by Forsen here. Big thing to point out, I don't actually remember the full name of the star, but it is interesting in the fact that it sticks to territories. Arcstar, there we go. And it sticks to a region. It can stick to a character as well. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it's actually really cool. You can send it on a Pathfinder because there's no allies, so you can literally throw them in there to be a moving sticky for you. And it's a huge disable. So just like one of the other elements that exists when it comes to zone control and AoE abilities.
I just like it because as someone that played the old school Halo, I get sticky grenades back. Honestly, like regardless of what it does, the first time I saw it and I accidentally hit an enemy with it and it stuck to them, I was like, okay, I like this. It's pretty cool.
100% in the same boat for me. I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I have a Halo sticky. My life is so happy. And I love the utility of it.
Oh, now I'm running better.
Especially around some of, I think, the class playmaking capabilities as time moves on. Some of the creativity around those skills are going to be really cool to keep an eye on here. But there is another balloon redirect, a little bit more aggressive and kind of center focused here when it comes to the repositioning over towards, I believe, again, the Cascades.
And they were already in circle, so they're just playing aggressive, trying to get as many kills as possible. Thinks about picking up the Devotion, decides not to. The Devotion is like just the best weapon for clearing corners. You start pre-firing and you just walk around the corner and it's like I'm doing so much damage.
You don't even have to go around the corner if you have a turbocharger hop up on it as well. And then it reduces the wind-up time and you're essentially just full Gatling gun on these guys.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to weapons of that style, I'm more of a Spitfire guy. It is heavy ammo, right? Yeah. And that's why I kind of like it.
Don't tell me that way.
I know. I'm a dirty Spitfire
I don't know, man. Spitfire's pretty great stuff, though. There was, what was it, you and I were the other night? We got to the end game, and I was like, do you have any ammo? I'm running Spitfire. You're like, oh, crap, I'm running Spitfire, too. Yeah. Those things eat ammo alive, so you can only really have one or two on the team before it gets bad.
So I really like this area that they ended up hard roading over to. I think it's probably my favorite kind of aesthetic area of the map as a whole because there's essentially 3 levels that you can go on, but more importantly, they actually kept the buildings. The designers decided to keep the buildings wide open in a lot of these kind of huts. They didn't make it kind of one way in, one way out because it's this really cool opportunity where you can still throw artillery strikes. You can still do those opportunities where those abilities from the Legends can still go into there. So it's a pretty cool little design feature that I think they
The
have.
map is honestly, I think, the kind of the sleeper carry
I agree.
for Apex. So many of the battle royales, you run into situations where it's like, oh, the circle is forcing me to cross this wide open field. I'm just at a disadvantage. It's either take a long time and take circle damage, or run through this field and risk getting shot at. And boy howdy, Apex, I rarely run into a situation where I feel like, man, the circle has ruined me and I'm not going to be able to get the win.
When we started the show, you immediately asked what were some of the things that stood out to us, and I used the element of pacing. That is one of the most important things to me when looking at battle royales, and I feel like the map is part of the reason that is so beautifully done, right? And you have to consider other elements like the mobility that has been introduced with things like the sliding and again the character and kind of kits. But I think that again the mobility and the creativity around the design of the map are the two elements that make that pace so beautiful. So what I'm trying to say is I agree. It's a sleeper carry here for the game.
So I actually asked Respawn when I talked to them yesterday, like a map like this, Kings Canyon, like how long did it take you guys to develop this? Like how long was it till you guys were like, this is what we want to do. We want to be in the Outlands. And apparently Jason McCord and Rodney Reese, for the two senior level designers, actually made this map over the course of a weekend. They both sat down over a weekend and they were like, all right, what do you want to do? And I just see them like hovering over a computer and Jason looking over at Rodney going, all right, Rodney, what do you want to do? He goes, let's make it this. And then over the weekend, this map was created, and now we have this just beautiful masterpiece of Kings Canyon.
It's one of the most detailed maps I've played on, in almost any video game, really. Like it is. There's so many different nooks and crannies to explore. You know how, like, in a lot of times in battle royales, you'll feel like, okay, once you've learned 3 houses, you've learned all the houses on the map.
Yeah.
I don't really get that same sense here, you know?
No, I completely agree. I think that when it comes to the structures itself and knowing the layouts and the ways to approach some of the fights, it is very different in kind of dynamic here. As the Spitfire coming through pretty clutch here over for Forsen and Friends.
He's going to have to really clutch this one up, though.
Yeah, 2 members down, and he's got to get a double revive.
He got him!
Gets the knock.
He got the last one. Spitfire at range.
Doesn't have any tools on Wraith to get a free res here, but I think because of the dominance being displayed, they're going to be all right and be able to make it out in this situation here.
1 second, we got this.
Get the revives off. Go check in team. This was Apex Tosis.
Apex Tosis.
Currently doing the draft. This is a big difference from Apex to every other battle royale. When you load in, instead of going and sitting on an island waiting for people to show up, you actually draft your team comp. Which looks like they went with a Wraith, and is this them? This is them. So they went with the Bloodhound, the Wraith, and the Bangalore, as they get announced as champions of the lobby.
I think a lot of people, when the first, couple of days of Apex Legends, automatically kind of leaned in towards the Bangalore Bloodhound combo. Because Bangalore, she has a lot of mid-game pressure and skirmish capabilities that I think a lot of characters struggle into due to if she gets scouted, she gains a high amount of mobility that essentially allows her to reposition to any skirmish immediately. Along with the double smoke capabilities, it just helps her with mid-game team fighting capabilities and repositioning around here. And so having that smoke and then being able to see through it, I feel like a lot of people like it. But then the Wraith with the portal and the teleport there, I feel like this is a nice balance of being very offensive and aggressive with the comp, but then being able to teleport all around there with that Wraith.
Rolling on in here to artillery. Nice high loot area. A lot of great terrain to work around as well.
So that's something else that's I think is really cool about this game is when you show up to a named location, it actually lets you know what level of loot is there. So if you actually look at the top left of the screen, you'll see that it'll say high tier loot, it'll say mid tier loot, which kind of gives you this opportunity to kind of make a conscious decision of, all right, how long do I actually want to stay and hang out here? Is there something I need? Because if you have all common level attachments or something like that, maybe you don't want to hang out here too long and try to go through the buildings to find extra loot because nothing that's there is actually something you need.
Yeah, that is a really good point to be able to have and allows even more, essentially kind of like we were talking about before, some of the elements of, make it a smart choice for the player and less around like the RNG elements or questioning like, is this going to be the right choice? You clearly know like, okay, at this point in time that I shouldn't be hanging out here, that I can be way more mobile and setting up for those later stages.
There's Team Apex Tosis here. We're currently watching Lolito, who has been bouncing back and forth between Bloodhound and Lifeline. His teammates Rubius and Xisma have been playing, respectively, Wraith and Bangalore all day. So if you're looking for a Bangalore stream, check out Xisma.
I do want to give a lot of credit to who we're seeing on the screen right now, because when you actually have players that are good at video games and have this this keyboard mouse camera, it adds so much value to you as not only as a player because you can analyze it, but just from the pure entertainment value, because you can take a clip, you can take a look back and look and see how their hands are moving when they're able to get something like a full squad wipe. And it's one of the coolest features that they're able to add, and just kind of speaks to the extra level and the extra step that a lot of these streamers are willing to go to add that entertainment value to their streams.
Yeah, and it doesn't take up that much screen space either. I like how he's got it kind of built into his overlay off to the side, so well designed look here from Lolito.
Nice and clutch fit there as well between, you know, the mini map and the rest of the UI in the game. I like the setup there.
Yep.
One thing to consider with this drop, though, that we have gotten, it is a little isolated from the rest of the map, right? It is one of the kind of corners, if you will, here, or at least on the edge of the sphere of the map itself. So if you end up getting a solo drop here, once you finish out the loot, which at this point it seems like the squad very much has, it's likely that you aren't going to run into anybody. If they aren't dropping with you, you got to go for a high-pressure zone after that point. And we still got 2 minutes out before that first ring closes in.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And just as we say that,
And
though,
then
on cue,
yeah, on cue.
we find somebody. But I think that's a really good point, Dreadnought, is that when you put yourself in a situation where you jump far, which I think these guys have to do, is they want a higher chance of winning because they want to get extra loot, you're not going to find somebody. And in a format like this on Twitch Rivals, if you're not popping heads, you're not going to be getting those points, because then if you end up going down, it's, there he goes, flop over, Peacekeeper, face, goodbye.
A switch and pop. Now, we're watching Lolito here, and we're seeing these little icons that look like footprints popping up on the ground. What does that mean? What is that? We haven't seen that yet today.
So that's part of Bloodhound. So Bloodhound's passive is that he actually can track the footprints of his enemies and try to get a little piece of knowledge of where they are. Now that coincides with him as a tracker. If you actually go back and look into the Bloodhound lore, that's simply what they are. There's these mercenaries, there's these killers that have the ability to track their prey through whatever it is in the Outlands, and they're able to bring it to this game, and it has a lot of synergy with the other characters too.
Yeah, it really does. The fact that you can keep that path and like keep track of where the opponents are, when you see that like 40 seconds ago, but you actually had no information that anybody was there in the first place, you start feeling extremely kind of like in an advantageous circumstance whenever you are on that Bloodhound.
Now, we're going to go jump back in here with Team Main for a moment, who just put up a 29-kill game. They're gunning for that top spot, trying to take it away from Team Pog.
And look at who we got on that top. It's Gotaga. It is definitely a fan favorite over in Europe. He has a very avid fan base.
Biggest French streamer, safe to say?
Really? I think that's so. I think so. I mean, he's got something like, almost 900,000 on Twitter. He's got even more when you take a look at his Twitch numbers. And if you want to talk about a grinder, if you want somebody that you can pop up on your screen while you're at work, while you're at home, and it's always going to be live and you always can rely on, it's Gotaga, because he's always there, he's always grinding. And since Apex Legends has come out, he has been non-stop playing this game.
I love it. He has his own logo on a hat. You want to talk about branding, folks? Look, got 2 logos right there in your face, and I think a third one pops up every time the notifications pop up above his head. So, full integration.
I want to know what his move left is. A is his key binding for his cast.
Oh, does he play on arrow keys, maybe?
I don't know, but all I know is he has to. I was like, well, then he just moved over a set, and then but he hasn't, because his E is his ultimate, which means that would be his move forward. He has a very interesting key binding circumstance. Maybe I'm weird for noticing that.
Everybody that's in the chat right now, go to Gotaga stream and ask him, show me your keybinds, because now that's the only thing that I care about.
Or can Gotaga's regular viewers just tell us, because surely they
actually that'd probably be
They already probably know.
I want to be Mr. Steal Your keybinds over here.
Yeah. One for the long-range shots on the Hemlock, a burst rifle. Haven't seen a burst rifle today.
I want to point out the mechanic that's coming to life here, in-game right here. He is out of bounds, quote unquote, but he has a 30-second time advantage where he can actually sit here, poke and prod, see if he gets a knock, and then drop down. This is a mechanic that I personally feel like for Pathfinders is a huge element to keep track of. And I always, if you're an opponent shooting at somebody with that huge high ground, know 30 seconds, and they will no longer be there.
So, Wavepunk, as the representative on this couch for the one that dies to inanimate objects, do you know that if you die on the 30-second timer, if your teammates end up getting your respawn banner?
I do not, but I would guess yes. If they give it to you when you fall off the map, surely they give it to you when you die anywhere else,
I can
right?
see the face of anger that you're giving right now. I love you so much.
That waterfall is deceptive. It looks like there's ground underneath it, and then there's not. You're just in the dirt.
To take a little responsibility away from you, Wavepunk, I will admit I almost died as Pathfinder trying to make the bunker jump over top of the bunker with my ultimate, my Q to run over that area out of bounds, and to get across that almost took me 30 seconds. I barely dashed off before it, so I actually don't know yet either.
To give you even a little bit more hope on stupid things that people on this couch do. The first time I played Pathfinder, I thought that his zipline ability was so cool that I threw it to the top.
Yeah.
And because this game is such a physics momentum-based game, I went full sprint on the zipline, jumped off thinking I was going to be cool, and I didn't land, went over the edge of the map, immediate death.
Wow. Well, here's the standings right now. Pog still up on top, actually pulling away a little bit. Sounds like they've been getting some crazy kills again. We saw them right before we went to the break. They were racking up some massive kills as well. So Team Main trying to close the gap, but Pog making it hard on them. I'm back over here with Mikolau. I see Mikolau a lot. The thing I always love about Mikolau's stream is how bright and yellow everything is. Very few streamers actually choose yellow as a brand color. He's one of the few, and it's always so vibrant. I love it.
It's got that like shiny, slick feeling to it too. So it's not just like in-your-face yellow. It's like a sleek yellow. So it adds that kind of level of like class.
I think I call it bumblebee yellow, like at least a little bit. It's pretty close.
That's a really good. That's a really good explanation.
Like it feels like it's got just that bumblebee tone to it, you know, not the insect, but our probably, you know, favorite or least favorite Transformer, depending on who you are.
So we have a really good opportunity actually to see kind of what the late game strategy of this team is in this instance, because there's 11 players left alive. Of those 11, 3 of them are their own team. So technically 8 players, 3 other squads left alive. And now we kind of get to see what are their late rotations going to be like, because they find themselves in, I believe this is round 2.
We'll check back in here with Team Main right now. We're going to go jump in with Salty Sandwich. They are towards the end of their game. See if they can pull it off. They're a little bit lower in the rankings. We'll see if they can get the win.
Yeah, I was going to say,
back up.
Last time we tuned in with them, they struggled in the mid game for sure. So we'll see if that's something that's, you know, a little bit different here. But I do believe dropping a little bit later into the stages of this round here with 8 squads going to remain.
And they got a Spitfire, so they win, right?
You know, much like every other gun, it's like you want to say that, but at the end of the day, it's really, can you get the click right, you know, and keep up with that micro, the level necessary. The wingman not coming as profitable as maybe it was for Forsen here.
Using this little wall to his advantage. Duck away, reload out of sight.
It's a hard spot for him too, because he's committed to the wingman. He doesn't have any sort of zoom optics, so he's got to make sure that he gets that reticle where he needs to be. Gonna pop himself a shield cell.
Mayo got one. Mayo gets 2.
Oh, bold move to move up there, but ends up taking the damage. See if it pays off.
Communication really heavy between all 3 of these players right now.
I'd be down to just listen in and hear how their comms are going. See how this team's thinking.
Bin zwar mega low, aber. Nice.
There's something beautiful about the fact that even when you don't speak the language, that you almost feel like you know what's going on. Like when the knock comes in, the noise comes in, it's, you know, a small celebration.
I had to do a double take real fast. It sounded like she said Mikolau. And I was like, are they fighting Mikolau? That would be the craziest thing if we cut over to this fight and it happened to be the people we were just watching. But there is always the chance of that happening here in Twitch Rivals as well. These guys are just queuing up. Eventually, we'll probably get 2 teams that are in the same game, and maybe they'll run into each other.
Yeah, nothing is more perfect than a broadcast like this where you're entering a public lobby and you're able to get people that are competing against each other in the same lobby.
Especially because with the whole champion thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you loaded and be like, oh, they're in this lobby. Okay, here we go.
It's pretty much the only way I've ever discovered if I have anybody, you know, significantly better than me in the game, is that because those streamers usually are your champions.
Yeah, they're usually winning.
Well, and you've also got the thing now where you actually on your banner can put those different categories, and you load into a game and you see somebody, I've had 750 kills on Caustic, and you're like, well, there you go, guys, it's the end of the game.
I've got 200 kills total.
I just flex grapple distance because that's all that matters for my beautiful Pathfinder.
I have fully committed. So one of my tags is kills as team leader as Mirage, and it is still 0 because I am purposefully keeping it on 0. So now every time that I'm the jump master, I give it to somebody else. So that way I make sure that I don't ever get a kill as team leader on Mirage, and that's going to be the weird quirk that I think I've decided to do.
It's a weird flex, but cool. All right. I'll rock with it.
I just want to know, at what point are you going to get good enough that people will go, oh, I know he's intentionally keeping that 0. I'm intimidated. Like, that's a level of...
No, but that's the thing. You're never going to know because I don't know if I'm ever going to get that good. They're gonna be, but it's the intimidation factor. Oh, no, this guy doesn't ever get kills as a team leader. Surprise!
Do you think that's a heart rate monitor down in the corner? Is this, the number is changing drastically?
No, that's FPS counter.
That's FPS,
Yeah, definitely FPS counter.
It's the GeForce.
He does have a really helpful timer there for us. Let us know how much is left in his Twitch rivals competition.
One thing we haven't highlighted was we know about Caustic's traps, but what about his ultimate, right? Because it's a little bit different than some of the rest. We do know that all of the AoE nuke are kind of thrown like a grenade.
Hold on, I just want to point out Team Main past Team Pog by 1 point. Right now they're in the lead. Go back to your Caustic description, please.
Yeah, and so it's just a grenade, and it's kind of like his traps in the fact that it releases the poison. It's just a voluntary long-range one that you can kind of dish out there. It's zone control. It's very, very effective. It does a little bit of damage, more so, I actually believe, than the traps themselves. But it's mainly there for the utility and the information that Caustic's able to gain.
It works really well as a zoning tool as well. I think that's something that, and I think Caustic is actually one of the legends that players have underutilized the most. You've got the flashy plays, but I think because the game is so new and because Caustic's where his barrel placements are and when he decides to use his smokes is actually the hardest thing about him. Making sure that you're set up early because of a game like Apex Legends and that it is a battle royale, you're forced to rotate around a lot.
Yeah.
If players can find a way to get themselves in an advantageous position or a solid camp spot early and use his barrels, everybody has a story already about how difficult it is when you find yourself in a situation where there's a lot of Caustic barrels. And I think that he's going to be one that will rise in popularity once players start actually figuring out how to utilize those barrels better.
Yeah,
this third party is going pretty well right now, but we're going to go jump in right now again. These guys are all live. Go check in with Salty Sandwich if you want. We're going to check in with Mickey, Trimax, and Hanky, whose team name is Die Drei Hagilin Koniche 07. That's my best German impression. It's probably horrible.
It sounded like a British royalty.
I was going to say,
but I'm just sorry, I don't know.
I didn't get German out of that, but I was impressed with the twang you threw on that, man. Like, you definitely had some culture that I didn't expect.
You gotta be confident, man. You just gotta go for it, even if you're wrong.
You are from Texas.
Mickey's got some great reactions, by the way. If you want a streamer who like reacts well to things, just go to Mickey's stream here, MCKY. You can check out his top clips. There's some wonderful stuff.
I'm sorry, that Texas goal got me, man. That was really good.
You have 2 rednecks on the couch.
Yeah.
No
but
one knows.
Digital Threat was picked up. Actually, a full kitted Prowler here, which is a rare thing to be able to see. You can find fully legendary weapons across the board. It doesn't get any better than that. I will say Prowler is not necessarily my highest tier out of all of them, but it's not shabby whatsoever. A very good SMG.
I don't know, when you put that thing on.
I'm about to say, man, select fire receiver on a Prowler is terrifying.
You are right. I'm not thinking about that. Once you get the select fire, I feel like the Prowler becomes, a little bit more in my realm. It's one of those guns that I go like, I know this is good, but I just suck with it, so I'm gonna keep dishing on it.
I also think though, you do make a good point though about how you need the select fire receiver for the gun to be good, which makes you have to create a decision within yourself of, okay, do I want to keep this gun?
Yeah.
And do I want to wait until I find a select fire receiver and give up something more reliable like an R301 or a carbine or whatever it may be, and make sure that you have to wait and essentially render it half useless? So it makes a good point, which is I think what is awesome about Apex Legends and something that a lot of these streamers really have to make that decision of what do we want to actually use at a certain point in time, because you're giving up things when you try to gain in other directions.
Well, let's go check in with Team ZF. This is Cyanide, Sombrero, and Edberg.
One on the right.
Some things are going for them right now.
In there.
Go here.
A very distant section here of the map. With a bit of that mid-tier loot to be able to zone off. A little bit of pressure.
24 kill win they just finished.
Oh, wow. Only 13 squads going to remain in this one, but judging by that fire here, probably not going to last long.
Really good spray control on
my.
that R301 as well.
Careful. They've been running the Wraith Mirage Bloodhound lineup all day. It's been working out pretty well. They start off this round hot.
It's a really interesting combination. You don't necessarily see kind of just pure ability synergy with those three legends, but they all do something enough of a difference. Two of them with more kind of distract and mobility setups, and then you have Bloodhound, which is just great at tracking individuals. So it definitely gives you an opportunity for a little bit more of the flashy plays. And I mean, when you're able to secure yourself a 24 kill win, it definitely adds an extra value.
We can theory craft a lot of team comps and stuff, and it's always fun to think about those things. But we are still so early in this game.
Yeah,
right now it's like, who are you good at? Play who you're good at, and you'll most likely win. So I bet they're just thinking, they're just picking. They're all on their Pathfinder, you know?
Yeah.
They're on the guy they like.
And I think it varies a little bit too, considering within this format that we do have kills being so relevant.
Is this a Twitch onesie he's wearing?
It's definitely a onesie. I don't know if it's a Twitch.
Is it a hoodie? Is it a one? What is that? Also, I love that he's got Twitch chat pulled up on this like camera over here.
I think that's the Twitch onesie that he just has unzipped. It looks like it.
You're probably right. I just want to believe it's a
At first glance, when we were on that little 3-box that we just had, I actually thought it was a giant Twitch blanket. And the first thing I was going to do is, I want the Twitch blanket.
That's beautiful. I love that you can see yourself. If you go and chat and then zoom in real close on Sombrero's camera, you can look at him yourself, you know? That's pretty cool.
I'm scanning outside right now.
Some good stuff. Some nice lights. A lot of purple going on.
Well, I actually am curious to see what they're talking about here, because they're trying to find a way to clear through this complex, and they're having some pretty crisp communication. So it's actually
let's listen in.
Yeah, inside market, last scene. Nading, get their attention.
Throwing through my grenade. Throwing through my grenade.
Second left side. Near my thermite. They just smoked. Follow me, everyone follow me. Ulting it right now. I'm pushing. One devotion on me. One more on me. All dead, nice, clean. Yes! Clean. Well played. Clean, boys. Did I hear something west? Was that you opening the door?
I think I heard something west.
I opened a door. I think I was Edberg opening the door. Stay safe.
Really good communication from those guys. It's super clean, super concise, and essentially just calling out where things are, and then as soon as everybody's down, it's, all right, guys, let's do that.
And one thing to point out there, Sombrero did a very, very good job of timing his shots, getting a trade in with a devotion early on, realizing he did not hit with the hip fire that he needed, pulled away, that's when he goes for the weapon swap, and then he pops around knowing his opponent is likely going to reload. It leads to one of two situations. It's either a double weapon swap, and he likely is going to be able to trade up, or in fact, he's just reloading, and it's Akko Taco, Sombrero with a free frag.
And he's also doing a really good job at, as soon as he got somebody down, he let his teammates know. He wasn't getting kind of lost in the moment. He was adding that extra level of efficiency as well to show things. As now it looks like we've swapped over to some difference. We're over at triple digits on points now, boys.
Dude, Pog is fallen again another rank. Only 5 points behind ZF, but ZF and Main starting to run away with things, getting some crazy good kills, some crazy good games. And they're looking to add to it right here.
It's actually underneath him. He goes for the straight drop there in the hip fire. Interesting choice. Hemlock, not necessarily the best when it comes to that hip fire. Only has a single and triple burst. Usually in that situation, you look for a burst, but he ends up getting the frag there. Well done. Like, normally dropping from high elevation like that, it can be pretty risky in Apex.
Jump on over here with the Kingsman again.
Haven't seen these guys in a while.
Currently ranked 5th on the standings.
Ooh, I just saw, so Break just actually pulled up the map and actually decided to go for more of the hot drop. There's, when you drop for the first time, it actually shows this little blue circle, which basically guarantees you better loot. And immediately that's where these guys are going, because not only do you get better loot, but you get an opportunity to get more people, because everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Pick up your good loot and then use it.
I don't know. I'm going to this building here for a gun.
Oh no.
He's got so many bullets, man. You can throw them.
No gun.
Just chuck them at people.
It's the worst feeling in the world when you get a drop like that.
Yeah, like where they are high tier loot, you expect people, you expect them with guns, you expect them with good guns even at that point, just based on the kit and the zoning capability there. So if this doesn't net some kind of gun there, all right, we'll get ourselves a Spitfire and a Devotion if you would like.
The two big boys right next to each other.
I don't see anyone.
And the Mozambique.
Oh, everybody's favorite gun, the Mozambique.
Is this where we talk about the Mozambique? 3-shot pistol shotgun thingy? Not as good as the rest of the shotguns.
It could use a little more.
It reminds me of a flare gun. It's literally the way it looks like. It's literally just a flare gun, and it's well, this is what you have now. It's what you're stuck with.
Look at that full heavy loadout longbow and Spitfire. I'd take that to end game. Why not?
Nice med kit pickup early helps here too for this kind of skirmish.
This is also a smart thing to do, swap out, so you're not using the same type of ammo on both your weapons. Now you can kind of stack between the two.
Yeah, especially early, because you're not going to be able to have that opportunity to get as much loot as what you might want. Gives you the opportunity to have a little bit of the split loot there. Gets him a Phoenix kit. Wow. So finding nothing but bullets in the first building. Now he's gotten some luck on his side as lots of loot being picked up here for break.
Also just missing armor, and then he's pretty much fully kitted. You need to use some attachments too, I guess.
I like the subtlety too of going with the swap over. He's only got a one-time cog on the scope, but putting that into the longbow for these early skirmishes, knowing the R301 capabilities to go into full auto, better at that shorter range. It's small stuff, but it's that kind of stuff that if you fail to be able to do, in a battle royale, you can't get the initiations you always want, and it might be those seconds that you need later on. And I like to see teams, have that kind of a forethought.
Now this we mentioned it earlier. They're currently ziplining up onto a ship that looks like it's flying. Talk to me about this ship. What does it do? Where does it go? How does it function?
I think that's the beauty is you never know, really, Wave, until you get into the game itself. It is not a reliable, every single time the ship is going to be here, this is where the action is going to happen. It's kind of randomized there, and then it floats across the map, and then it chooses a section that it is, in fact, going to land. You have the opportunity to airdrop on top of it while it is getting to that location if you would like to do so. That's some of the highlight clips we got earlier in the day. And then I believe there's that secondary that comes in at the later stages that you can focus on, that you can't land on, and is going to have that sweet, sweet loot.
Yeah, so that's actually something that I think a lot of players are still trying to figure out, is how they rotate with the second supply ship. Because you're guaranteed some pretty decent loot, when that second supply ship arrives, it always arrives somewhere in the current ring that will, or in the ring that will be happening in the next zone. So you actually have an opportunity to go around and go get yourself even more loot in the later stages of the game, which is something that not a lot of other games really have.
Yeah, and I immediately first thought was like, well, if that's the case, I want to rotate to that second loot ship, right? And one thing I just want to throw out there is the fact that because the loot ship itself is still trying to settle itself down to the map itself, it has no opportunity to zipline. There are no easy teleports up. No one has access to that until it hits the actual point that it's supposed to be. So it makes it to where you are confident that all the loot is going to be max value.
All right, now Team Name starting to run away with things even more.
29 points.
Still only 2 teams. They are currently Team Main currently has 100 kills already, and we're not even halfway through. We can go check in with
Wait,
them.
100 kills, or is that 100 points?
100 they have 100 points, but they also have 100 kills, I'm being told.
Oh, wow. You haven't won a single game, but you've got, oh my gosh. They're going to end up with more kills at the end of this 4-hour period.
If they have 100 kills and 6 extra points, that means they have 101 kills and have won 1 game?
Yes. It could mean other situations as well, but...
Also, Team Nordic has been creeping up the ladders. Right now, they just finished a game with, oh my goodness, 26, 27? 26 kills they just finished one with.
Primed and ready here for another W, possibly. Only got 7 teams to remain.
Oh, and,
hey,
sometimes you go up a balloon, sometimes you run smack dab into a billboard.
Most important thing to keep in mind now that we have one Pathfinder perspective to talk about for a small period of time is this Q grapple goes where your camera's looking, and it's very important to note that, because otherwise your angles and shifting your momentum to really throw you where you want to go will be colossally off the mark.
Yeah, because isn't the grapple isn't just you point, click, push, and then it pushes you there. Where you're running actually takes into effect as well, correct?
Absolutely, right? So like one of the best things you can do is like use downhill momentum as you're sliding, grapple something off to the side, and then look far to the other angle you want to swing through and let go, and you also can cancel it essentially by hitting control. As we see that Mirage struggle there, and the grapple to be able to help the mobility back.
I think they got him. 7 kills from Mikolau here. Mikolau has been playing Pathfinder all the way, and the first one to 100 kills indeed.
Man after my heart.
Gotaga has been playing Mirage, and Robbie's been playing Bangalore all day. They've not switched roles one time, so.
They're going to end up with more kills over this 4-hour period than I think I've probably got in the entirety of playing.
Yeah, probably. That's how good people do.
It's embarrassing, but it's true. I sit in the same boat.
That's why we're on the couch together, isn't that right, Dreadnought?
In the words of the great James Hetfield, sad but true.
It was a fantastic literary quote. I just want to say it.
A literary quote?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that I do want to highlight that was coming up over Apex Legends is the communication capable without a mic. Is a very subtle touch to this game that I think
the ping
really
system,
caresses, like it makes things so much greater. Not only a ping system, because I think a lot of games have ping systems that are pretty diverse with a ping wheel and capabilities, but then also a response system within a lot of the characters.
If I heard correctly, they actually play tested this for months.
Yes.
Without using comms, just to see, can we play this game just using the ping system? And you absolutely can.
They did. There's one man, Raim Vinson. He is one of the developers over at Respawn. His job is the ping system. And him, as well as all the others on both his team as well as other departments, put in so much work to make this ping system. And I tweeted about it yesterday. Being able to win games with 2 randoms that I've never heard, that I've never played with before, without talking and only pinging, gives me hope for 2019.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I say in the exact same boat. And I think it's such an amazing tool. Like you see there, you can actually thank the person that ended up giving you whatever happened at that point in time. The ammo system, you can request ammo, you can suggest ammo. Like there are so many cool things with that. And I think the most important thing when I talk about Apex here is this is a beautiful fight. Kind of clutching out with that. It's going to be a scout for now. Oh my gosh, so many shots raining in there from main.
So good. There is a slight recoil on the scout, and so his ability to just have that recoil control and be able to hit shot is fantastic.
Yeah, just always pulling down, it seems like, the proper amount in that point in time.
We'll jump in with Team Apex Tosis. See how things are going for them right now.
Goes for the punch over the execute. I understand, but you know, something in my heart always says you gotta hit that E. You gotta go for that execute.
Lots of communication happening. See if they can try to figure out where the rest of these guys are. He's going to try to use the wingman. The Devotion was out of ammo, and he's able to get the pop. And there they go. Full, clean squad wipe for them. Going to be able to heal themselves back up, and they're sitting pretty hot and heavy.
1 sec.
11 squads total there in that group, 30, so almost exactly at the mid-game mark. As you saw, there was that turbocharger for the pre-fire and the Devotion. That's the first time I think on the stream we've actually gotten to see it available. But that is that tool that can really make the Devotion suddenly go from good to great pretty fast.
Yeah, you were talking about it a lot, Caleb, in the sense of you have that opportunity to kind of come around the walls, get the windup of the Devotion, and then there isn't a gun that exists currently that fires as fast as the Devotion, and definitely hurts a lot.
I think it's like stat-wise, it's either that or the Spitfire is the highest damage per clip, right? If all shots go into the body and look towards something like that. And so just those two, due to their large, high ammunition, and then also having some of the more lethal ammunition.
So now getting themselves healed back up. They are only sitting, 2 of them are sitting on what looks to be coming out on the rare body armor, so they're going to have a little bit of extra. Those 3 ticks of shields that you can see on your screen. And again, another really great UI feature that you have in Apex Legends, where all of the players on the screen can actually see what the armor of their friends have, so they can ping another piece of loot. They can try to help themselves out to get themselves in a more defensive position. A nice little care package comes down, and that's going to be an epic helmet.
And I think, you know, not to be the guy just constantly raining compliments here to Apex, but I genuinely am in awe of some of the mechanics and tools that they've put into the game. Not only because of like how good they feel to have, right? Like we're talking about some of the menu opportunities or within the feedback of the ping system and what that looks like. It's not that they're introduced to the game. It's the level of them being introduced and how smooth they are and not overwhelming. They're very intuitive across the board. Every one of the menus with like a pinwheel menu makes it feel like you already have all these options, but you aren't going like, how do I get this item to do this one thing in this situation? It's very, very straightforward. And that to me is always the one thing that really just makes me go like, you know, how did this happen? You know, all in one great game here.
Now we find ourselves in one of the more fun parts. It's a spot that I think pretty much everybody that pops into this game ends up having to be at. And you have to make a lot of decisions when you get into this kind of ravine area of, do we want to go up for the balloon and go for an aggressive reset? Do we want to climb up the mountain? Do we want to sit in one of the buildings? It looks like the members here are actually going to end up using the balloon and trying to get themselves a little of an aggressive movement, because they do know they need those kills, they need those finishes to be able to secure themselves a little bit of an extra situation with those points.
Because this sits in the center of the map, it's one of the more hot kind of areas as the map map moves on, you know, being weighted towards the center aspect and the high elevation and kind of zipline dynamics, it seems like everybody enjoys and really kind of floods to this zone. But because a lot of the weapons in Apex Legends are not as good and effective at a range, yes, there are snipers, but other than the longbow and the Kraber, the odds of you confidently knocking someone at a very large distance is low. And so I want to see, you know, if it long-term people keep weighing in towards this high ground kind of play style in these corridors, or if in fact it becomes that, you know, a bit more kind of skirt around and avoid this area.
Really good strategy that we're seeing from the players on our team right now is throwing down the Bangalore smokes, not necessarily just to get away from the enemy, but more importantly is to shield his teammates so he can be able to get that revive. And instead of him using the Bangalore to revive, he actually used a Lifeline to revive, and Lifeline has that passive where she actually heals or she revives people 25% faster. So really good recognition of the composition that they have and kind of just shows the prowess that they're having here on Twitch Rivals.
All right, now Lolito is one of the only players who is swapping roles at all. He's been playing Lifeline and Bloodhound. We can take a look at the standings, see things where they are. We'll go check out the team ZF. ZF has played the fewest games so far, but at the highest impact. They have had double-digit kills every single game.
We're in Camp City right now, and they're the mayor.
Yeah, and they are. Look at them sitting in the closets.
Yeah, it's 2 squads left. This is last man, you know.
Did I see that correctly, that they have 2 Mastiffs? Oh, come on, finish them. Switching it up.
I mean, double Mastiff is very difficult to deal with. The legendary shotgun, some of the highest damage.
If I had double Mastiff, I'd sit in the closet too.
It's only 2 though. 1 person should remain.
On top.
There's the champion.
More wins, an extra 5 points for ZF, so we catch their final moments. Edberg super happy about it.
Love the excitement to see from all of these guys, and that's like, again, the greatest thing about battle royales is it's so high, it's so intense, it's so high octane that the second that you're able to see you are the champion pop across your screen, everybody's gonna do something very similar to what he is, and that's a yes.
29 kill game. They get the 5 points for winning as well.
34 points.
34 points just from that game.
Next one.
We still have so much time left to go. These guys are absolutely creaming things. Let's go check in with Team Pog. They were the leaders for a long time. And they are right now still lingering around that top spot. They've moved themselves back in rank 2. Full Russian team. They've been playing pretty well.
I think one of the most impressive things out of that last squad to note too, with some of the numbers that they had, is you can keep track of the damage, right? 100 HP is a kill outside of armor, so anywhere from 100 to 200 should be a kill. Every one of those guys with 11 kills, damage matches almost 1-to-1 with that. That they are clearly, you know, this isn't, 11 kills of Chaos Egg. This is us, we're just walking in, smacking some dudes around, making sure we got the shots on point.
Hey, Mr. Woody, thanks for the 100 rubles. Rubies? Rubles.
We're not in Zelda.
I don't know. No, rupees are a real thing, but that's...
I was gonna say, rupees they're real.
There it is.
Oh, they are. You're right.
Like, I have moved through this caustic trap. It's so risky. Oh my gosh, they're gonna zipline over top. This is no vulnerable. That is so high risk. Oh my goodness, and they make it out. They clutch it.
You expect them to walk like, I'm looking for the smoke. Looking for the smoke. They're like, nope. Over your smoke. Don't care about your green gas.
The best part about it as well is they know that they do not need to fight right now. They're sitting them outside of the ring, so they're doing a lot of damage is getting ticked down onto them, and so they're going to hard rotate all the way to that southwestern side, try to see if they can get healed up with some syringes, and then try to get back in the fights.
Oh my goodness. That is such a tough moment. Every time you have that zip line where you're like, this is it, this is going to be the one, it feels like more often than not, you always get those shots into your back and go down. This team, very happy to be alive, but clutching it, and now with 3 squads, should be in a pretty decent position. I only say decent purely because they do have a Pathfinder to be a little bit more mobile if they would like around this circle closing in, but with that pressure from the shots on the angle, I don't know if they got it.
Lots of fire you can hear happening in the background, and it's nothing but we need to figure out how much health are we going to be able to effectively get ourselves to at this point in time. Lots of pings coming out, added to that good ping system. They can see. Get him in Gibraltar ring, and he steps outside the ring and gets knocked down. Great opportunity for them to potentially get onto the skill. He's going to be able to try to see if no damage markers happen, so he's going to have to reload and push.
No recoil with the legendary barrel stabilizer.
No, none whatsoever there on that
laser
R301.
gun.
Yeah, it's straight a BB, dude. Just launching him out there. Double knock, getting the Gibraltar after he steps out of the ring. You know, probably the only guy who gets knocked out of the ring rather than in it, but
gets the full finish as well to make sure that he gets that elimination and gets that single point, which is extremely important in the format that we see. Knows he needs to pop himself up a little bit more for that shield cell. Reload to Spitfire, reload to R301. He's set and ready to go.
One thing we have to consider, though, is ammo right now, right? He's got a lot of bodies that'll be able to loot. There was a lot of light ammo there for his R301, but he is on the Spitfire. He's on a double auto situation, except for the R301 can go into the single, but he's sitting lower-ish, minus now, again, the light ammo's there. But the Spitfire, it's low enough. We've got 1 clip and a half at best.
It's not the suppressing fire that you could use it for.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, teammate goes down. That's a lifeline. Throws out a couple frag grenades to try to get something done. Line, and it hits again with a knockdown.
Instant shield, very well done, just in case you get the reinitiation, having that 25% increased shielding.
Getting inside the building. Luckily, this is one of the buildings that doesn't have the roofs off of it, so he actually can stay safe.
Zip can easily get him into position if you would like to without getting shot in that downtime.
Full elimination goes down. And in this situation with only 2 squads left, you don't want to try to hard force revive your teammate. He does luckily have that epic knockdown shield, which is going to give you a lot of extra. Hides behind the rock. He's able to get off his lifeline. Lifeline can then pop down his tactical ability to get healed back up. 2 squads left. This 5 points is going to be huge for them to stay good on this roster.
Oh, the R301 not hitting all the shots like it was over the last time, but his teammate does end up getting the knock. There it is, cleaning it up.
More points, Pog staying in this thing.
Dude, I respect, he just leans over, hits up the water jug, and just goes another day in the office after that. That was nice.
And it's not a small jug either. He's got a giant pitcher of water going, just got to quench the thirst for the tournament we're trying to win.
Do any of you recognize the sword on his back wall?
If I was to guess, it looks like a Raygon sword from Battlerite, but it definitely is.
Kind of. That would be if that existed somewhere, that'd be amazing.
Do you know exactly what sword this is?
No, I do not.
Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah, it looked like, my brain says a League of Legends character, but I can't like maybe.
My sword knowledge is pretty subpar, so I'm going to default to you on the sword knowledge on this one.
Chad, if you know, let us know. Here we jump on with Cyanide, Team ZF.
You don't want it?
I can tell you it wasn't an Ashbringer. I know that much.
No, we actually have an Ashbringer in my house. I'm not lying.
I'm a little jelly.
It's a little big. It's a little ostentatious.
You got a mag here, son. I like mag.
Oh, nice.
We see the syringe being used. That's the smallest health medical tool, right? To be able to heal back up. And earlier I talked about some of the shielding versus healing and why shielding's better than healing in the long run. And just the main reason is when you look at a shield cell, 25% of your shields versus a syringe, which I believe is 20% of your maximum HP, there's a 2-second time difference. So for 5 more health and 2 less seconds, a shield cell is trading up massively. So the biggest thing is if you can keep your shields up, that helps so much in this game. Oh, great flank.
The poor Mirage is holding the door. I've got this line. There were 2 lines, I'm sorry. The Wraith goes down.
Execute. Give me it.
Finish it.
Ooh.
Finish. Nope, loot.
No ice. The last one. Hot.
Still early in the game, so they need to make sure they get up as much loot as possible. Suggestions coming out from his teammate. And there you go, the Peacemaker able to take down the 3rd member of that squad. So they get the full wipe. It looks like they're going to be free to go around these little town areas and try to see if they can get themselves looted, booted, and ready to go.
I love that. I don't know if you noticed, but you had a slight slip there calling it the Peacemaker, and I almost feel like that's a better name. It's like it truly isn't. It doesn't keep it, like, right? It doesn't. It's not those rowdy kids and it's like let this settle this down. It truly is. I mean, the equalizer, man.
A peacekeeper is someone. There is some peace, and I'm going to make sure that it is maintained. He's like, no, there's no peace.
No.
I'm going to create it, though. There will be silence after I show up.
I am the one who shoots is really what it feels like the Peacekeeper is kind of dishing out there. This is the Rift Portal animation available. Oh, my gosh, right on top of a Tango.
Melted him. Absolutely dead. Bloodhound was just trying to get out of the porta potty. It's a rude awakening.
Accelerant's going out. You may as well just eat them.
So one thing I want to ask you guys here, because I think it's, with the youth of the game, it's an interesting conversation. I think inventory management is something that not everybody has mastered yet at this point in time, and it changes from time to time. But the biggest thing is grenades. When do you and don't you based on availability of your backpack, and what are you willing to sacrifice to make that a thing, right? Do you go for the extra shots and the spare suppression fire, or do you go for that zone control and be like, because you only get 2 grenades per inventory slot, right? And so that makes it, if you have 6, that's 3 slots. spots.
Being able to use grenades and throwables in combination with the single-shot high-impact weapons where you don't have to carry as much ammunition can really help, especially because you want to use the grenades to flush out your opponents, to give them that line of sight, because you're playing from a far distance. That's a good combo. What about you, Joe?
I also think it's relative on what role you're playing for your team. I mean, we take a look and see what we have Cyanide playing. He's playing more of this kind of up-close utility character, and because he's decided to actually use, he's got 6 grenades in his inventory, so he's got 2 or 3 sets of 2, and his style he's got with the Wingman and the R99, that's that I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna go attack you style, and so he can actually throw those grenades. His teammates can kind of throw down suppression fire, and then he can dive in and go in for those kind of closer range opportunities, and so I think that's kind of adding to his play style. But at the end of the day, when you're able to hit shots, doesn't matter how many grenades you're gonna need, because you're gonna be popping heads and knocking people down.
See that shield there up from the Gibraltar, up the help on that trade. Throws down the shield. If he goes over the hop, he will. He's got an advantage to shoot out. Gets a reveal with that nice Blood Hunter
and here
kind of
comes
reveal
the
there.
Gibraltar ult on top of him.
Oh, he uses the iframe out from the Wraith to get into the bubble. Clever play, and gets the res, but with the Gibraltar push.
And they get the kills. Can they stay alive? So many things to find out. You're going to have to tune in to Cyanide and Edberg stream. We're going to cut away real fast. We're going to go check in with Mickey, Trimax, and everybody on Team Jump. Can you give this name a shot for me?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a default on that one.
What am I looking at?
Give me that team name.
Oh, that's My Hope of Wingo. Right?
No,
the team name? Oh, that is Die Dry, Egelin, Konij, and then it's a salute.
Twitch chat hates us right now. It's a salute.
No, but he's not wrong. The 07.
Yeah, it's a salute. Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a couple of German friends I probably should have called before that one, huh?
He got him up. Oh, down the Bangalore.
That was only capable because he is a medic. The lifeline.
He's the lifeline.
That's the
Puts the
most
shield out.
important.
It's a great passive.
Yeah.
But that's a difficult decision that he had to make. Do I finish the Bangalore or do I try to get my teammate? And because you're the lifeline, you're like, I've got a shield, I get it faster. But unfortunately, it wasn't able to work out for him, and the other member was able to do it well. But oh, look how much health his teammate has.
Somebody's got a self-res, right? That's the only reason they haven't lost.
The Bloodhound looks like he has a self-res.
Yeah, so he's going to have to be able to come back there. Not going to there, as we see them knocked out quite a bit earlier than we would expect.
All right, well, folks, been some crazy action so far. So much back and forth. I think there's only 3 teams that don't have over 100 points right now. It's been like, did we expect to see this many kills?
Yes and no. I mean, my first thing I would say is I've talked about how important the mobility and some of the map elements are. You aren't going to face a walking simulator. The balloons allow you to go, if I know there are people towards the edge, I'm going to push the edge, and I'm not going to risk my life. And so because of that, if kills are incentivized, mobility is higher than it ever has been. So debatably, this should be the most lethal battle royale we've seen to date.
And a lot of people playing Pathfinder, a lot of mobility, a lot of action happening so far. It's been fun, folks. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, more fantastic Apex Legends action coming at you. Don't go anywhere.